As Mexico's top diplomat, you don't usually get involved in U.S. politics at all, but you've been really critical of Donald Trump. Why have you decided to go after Donald Trump so hard?
I have not been involved in the United States electoral process. I have been doing my job, which is to set the record straight regarding what our community contributes every day to the United States growth and development.
But to be clear, you have been very critical of Donald Trump. I mean, you've called his comments ignorant and racist.
The best way to counteract misinformation and stereotypes is talk with hard facts and with information and with the truth.
So President Peña Nieto said, looking at Trump's success, this is how Mussolini got in, this is how Hitler got in. Those are some, shall we say, harsh comparisons. Is that appropriate?
It is important to not let isolationist or racist or xenophobic comments get out of hand. He was talking about the rhetoric that we have seen not only in the United States but in other regions in the world, in Europe, for example, and that's something that should worry and worries Democratic leaders everywhere, I think.
How would you work with him if he actually gets elected, if he actually becomes the President of the United States?
Mexico and the United States have such a strong and intertwined relationship that's multidimensional, that involves so many actors at so many different levels. It really transcends any political juncture and any one person.
Of course, when Donald Trump announced he was running, he said, and you know well,
when Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
As a Mexican citizen, what did you think when you heard Donald Trump say that?
Well, I really have to object to that characterization. Our community in the United States is comprised of over 35 million people. Not only thousands of agricultural workers that sustain the agro industry in states such as California or North Carolina or Florida, but increasingly professional and highly trained people. In fact, Mexico has the second largest professional diaspora in the United States. We're talking about lawyers, we're talking about designers in Silicon Valley, we're talking about medical professionals, we're talking about Oscar winners.
You may have heard one of his ideas is to build a wall between the United States and Mexico. The way Trump puts it is it would have a big, beautiful door. In other words, you would have still the flow of legal immigration. So what is wrong with the idea of simply having a barrier, as he puts it, that would stop the flow of immigration that's not legal?
Well, that's a non-starter. For over 200 years now, we have been tearing down barriers and walls, and we have been integrating more and doing more joint work to face the challenges that we have and to be more competitive against other regions in the world. That's, I think that's the real issue here. It's not a problem about walls. It is a problem about narrow minds. We have a very integrated economy that would suffer greatly if we placed barriers into that dynamic. For example, the automotive industry in the United States is the world's largest manufacturer of vehicles. The automotive industry is so integrated that auto parts cross the border 8 or 9 times before a car is made. So we would not want to hinder that very competitive industry, just to use it as an example, there are many more, by placing barriers.
Of course, he says Mexico is going to pay for this wall that you've just said you are opposed to.
Well, that's absurd. We would never consider that.
On NAFTA, Trump has said this is one of the worst economic deals ever made by our country. But he's not saying that he would tear it up. He's saying that he wants to renegotiate it, to improve it. This agreement's 20 years old now. Is your government, is the government of Mexico open to improving NAFTA, to making changes in NAFTA?
No, that's not something we are considering. NAFTA works. The way to modernize it and to make it part of a 21st century demands is to go further. For us, that means TPP. For us, that means embracing TPP as a region to become more competitive, to deepen many of the disciplines that were included in NAFTA originally, such as telecom or labor, and to incorporate new disciplines that are part of the TPP, that weren't part of what we were discussing 22 years ago.
I'm sure you've seen in our election, it's not just Donald Trump. Bernie Sanders made a big issue out of trade, portrayed NAFTA as a job killer. What do you say to those, like the citizens of Indianapolis who see Carrier air conditioner?
The best way to stay competitive and protect the business for long term is to move production from our facility in Indianapolis to Monterrey, Mexico. This is strictly a business decision.
1,400 American jobs gone.
I think that many people feel left out of the benefits of economic integration, and governments should focus on that, how to make everyone a part of these dynamics and of these benefits. Mexico does not steal jobs from the United States. It is automatization and logistics that have caused jobs to shift elsewhere. You see other new ones being created and being supported by our bilateral relationship.
The average factory worker in Juarez, obviously just across the border from El Paso, makes about $5,000 a year. Conditions are bad in the factories. We had 3 incidents in the past year. We had mass firings because people tried to form labor unions. How are American companies supposed to compete with factories in Mexico that are paying a fraction of what American workers are being paid here?
Well, that's why we're focusing on becoming more competitive on standardizing labor requirements and standards through TPP. We have to look at the whole picture. Mexico, U.S., and Canada have created thousands of jobs together through NAFTA in the past 20 years. The numbers are there, the jobs are there, and the way to keep on creating and supporting those jobs and more jobs is to continue to work together.